Hello and welcome back to the Not Your Neurotypical Fitness podcast. And once again, we have got something that is not necessarily fitness, but it's very not so neurotypical. I've got an amazing guest who we've been having an awesome little chat about Instagram and social media with because I thought I was doing quite well with social media growth, and then this person, I just gained 15K followers in 30 days. But she's an absolutely amazing woman, and I really wanted to bring her on because I love the work she does. I love what she's inspiring other neurodivergent women, especially women in business, to do. And I definitely think there's going to be so much that we can learn from this conversation. So, Faye, I don't want to like butcher it and try and describe and sum up what you do and downplay it. So, can you just give the people a little bit of a summary as to who you are, what the work is you do, and ultimately where people can find you on social media and all that good stuff?
Yes, hello, darling. Thank you so much for asking me to come on as well. Absolutely delighted. Always love a chin wag, especially when it comes to business, because you don't really get to talk to your mates that aren't in this kind of world about it, because they don't really. I find that they obviously I can talk to them, but they don't really understand like someone else that is in it and doing it understands. So, yes, thank you. Oh my God, I don't even know where to start. Like this journey has been mad, so I'll try and not to make it too long. But basically, I spent 8 years of my life very, very poorly with I got diagnosed with four autoimmune diseases. So I got diagnosed with lupus, Sjogren's syndrome, anti-phospholipid syndrome, and fibromyalgia when I was in my sort of mid to late 20s. And I was very, very poorly. I was on chemo, I lost my hair, I couldn't work, was told I'd never be able to have children. So like my whole life just completely was turned upside down. And prior to that, I was never really ill, got the odd cold, but that was kind of it. So was very, very poorly. And obviously during that time and not being able to work, you become quite sad, obviously. And so life was quite difficult. And I just felt like I'd lost my whole sense of identity because I was like the party girl, the fun loving one, the sociable one. And I just went in, like, just became very isolated. And then I did get pregnant, which was amazing. I had a bit of a well spell. We were like, well, let's just give it a go. You just never know.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll try. Got pregnant. That's a whole nother story on its own. And then I did something called hypnobirthing whilst I was pregnant
Yeah.
and absolutely loved it. And I kept talking about it to anyone that would listen. And my husband was like, why don't you learn to teach it? And then you could have like a bit of a, you can have your own business, like learning to teach this thing, work when you're feeling well. And then when you're not, you don't have to, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, yeah, that sounds really good. Then I had my daughter and was really poorly. Like I was fine during the pregnancy, but afterwards it like kicked off. So I ended up being very poorly again. And so that wasn't an option. And then I was trying to navigate being a mum and all of that. Then I got pregnant again and did hypnobirthing again and loved it so much. I was like, right, I have to teach this now. So then I qualified to teach hypnobirthing, set up an Instagram page, not knowing what I was doing. And I used to watch Boss Babe videos on YouTube during the night while I was doing the night feed to kind of stay awake, but also not realizing back then it was a bit of a hyper focus. I was like, I want to learn how to use Instagram. Like, I need to know. So I started watching the videos and implementing what I was learning, and the page just massively took off and I got like 10,000 followers within it was literally like a few months. And this was like back before Reels existed as well. That wasn't even a thing back then. And other people, other hypnobirthing teachers were like, "Hey, how are you doing this? Like, teach us." So then I was like, "Ooh, this is a little gap that I could fill." So then I set up another page where I was teaching hypnobirthing teachers how to use Instagram for their business, and I was helping them with content. And then I made my own app, which is just wild. And then from there, I just started like coaching other business owners. And then I set up another page because I was like, I just want to have a page where I share all of my spiritual knowledge. So I've read tarot cards and astrology since I was a teen. And I was like, I'm just going to put this out into the world as well. Again, like ADHD, like I want to do 400 things at the same time. And then that page massively took off and grew to like 35,000 followers. And I had a reel that got 38 million views, which was just absolutely insane. And then I burnt out because, ADHD. And then I took a massive break and then I started the page that I've got now like literally a few months ago. And just to talk about feeling lost, burning out, all the things that I'd experienced, not really thinking anyone would want to know. I genuinely thought it would just be like a little page where I just share bits and bobs. And it's taken off and now it's got 29,000 followers.
Amazing. Amazing.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's a very ADHD story that though, like jumping with all these different amazing business ideas. There's obviously so much to unpack here. So where for you did ADHD diagnosis and coming to terms with that and understanding that come into the picture? Because what you were sort of saying is there was a lot of like chaos and a lot of decisions, a lot of changes with business. Were you aware that that was ADHD, or was it on retrospect that you got like diagnosed later on? You went, oh, actually, that's why I was doing all these
Yeah, like I mean, I've known since I was at school, like teachers, it was thrown about at school that I might be ADHD. I was suspended 3 times. I was very naughty. I I was in detention like every Friday, always told I couldn't stop talking. One teacher actually put me in the cupboard once. He actually locked me in a cupboard. Yeah. So that's the kind of things that went down. So it was always something I knew. And then when I was very poorly, I thought about it then, but I was like, I don't want another diagnosis, like the grief that comes with a diagnosis and, all the stuff you have to go through. And I was like, I don't want another thing. But I've got 4 autoimmune diseases, also diagnosed with hypermobility. I was like, I don't want another thing to add to this. Um, and then during that time when I really burnt out, that was when I was like, okay, we need some more help here.
Mhm.
Um, and then that was when I like fully realized. And then I looked back and I was like, oh yeah, that's so obvious.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And like the hyper focus of all of those things and like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like you can't just when you get stuck into something, it's like it becomes you get stuck
it
in.
becomes life. Like it becomes life.
It's like you might as well be doing a degree on it. Like you go that deep
Yeah.
researching it. Amazing. So if we could go to the part of the journey with the burnout. Actually, no, I want to go back a bit further. So what is amazing is that you had this problem, with all these horrible autoimmune diseases, and then you decided I'm actually going to do something with this. Has that always been kind of like a trait of yours to be like solution focused, or was it more to like a survival mode of I need to do something, so let's just make this work?
I think a bit of both. Like something that annoys me the most in the world is when people moan about something that they can do something about and then don't do something about it.
Agree, hard agree.
I'm like, mate, like obviously if there's things you can't, I understand that's different. But if you can do something about it, I'm like, do something. Like don't just moan about it. So I
Agreed.
think that's definitely a trait that I've got. And then I think a bit of survival, like when you've got such a creative brain, I think not using that can actually lead to depression. I mean, obviously, I'm not a medical person, but I think there must be a link because
Agreed.
you have to get that out.
Yeah. Stimulation's so big, isn't it, with ADHD?
Yeah,
Biggest motivators. And I've found it's interesting you say that. I've never actually put the piece of the puzzle together. Whenever I've been understimulated and quiet, my mental health's taken a dip. So it's so interesting that you said that. So like whenever I was like not working or on study breaks, like thinking back in like early days, or even now, to be honest, like I've got to keep myself busy and occupied because it's otherwise it's like my brain just feels really sad and flat. Yeah, it's even
yeah.
a moment there, but you're so right. You're so right.
I think like creativity for me is as important as exercise.
Mm,
Like to me, I'm like I can't imagine a life. Like I can't imagine a life where I couldn't be like like get my ideas out into the world.
yeah,
I
yeah.
would find a way, like somehow.
Agreed. Yeah, amazing. So then if we move forward, you've done all these things and you started to notice that you were just opening all these Instagram pages. Do you think, looking back, obviously knowing what you probably now know about like sort of dopamine systems in the brain, that some of the obviously we want to do everything with ADHD, we want to do this business and that business and that, and we've got ideas coming out of our eyeballs. But when you're getting that positive feedback loop of like followers or engagement or money coming in, obviously depending what the metric is, it makes you want to keep going. Do you think there's an element of that with like all these different ideas because your pages grew so well, and when you get followers and engagement, it's like, oh my God, it does give you a good dopamine hit. Like,
Yeah,
right,
like I love it. I love that feeling of like when you put a post out and then like it go like not even just goes viral, but like gets lots of engagement or like and it's like the new pages, it's like that novelty of, oh, I'm gonna start a new page from scratch and we're gonna do it all again. Like, yeah, there's definitely like the dopamine of that does feel really good and I love it.
yeah, yeah. So by that point, when you were burning out, what kind of led to that? Was it trying to balance like different businesses, life and business, or what was happening for you at that time?
So like before I didn't really know burnout was even a thing until like literally a year ago.
Yeah.
So looking back, I can see where I burnt out. But at the time I just thought I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Mm,
So with the hypnobirthing, everyone was like, "What are you doing? What do you mean you're not doing hypnobirthing?" Because I had a when I did the hypnobirthing, I also had a podcast which was like #1 all around the world, and it was in the top 10% of most shared podcasts that year in 2021. It was wild. And then everyone was like, "What do you mean you don't want to do this anymore?" And I was like, "I don't want to do it anymore. Just I'm done." It was like on the outside that looks insane,
yeah,
but I think I just had burnt out so much that I couldn't even think about it anymore.
yeah. Yeah.
And then it was the same with the coaching. So when I started coaching like people with Instagram and how to get their businesses off the ground, I loved it so much. And I did it too much. I was working like constantly, like it just didn't stop.
Mm,
So of course you're going to burn out. And then again, it was like, oh, I don't want to coach people anymore. I'm just not going to do it anymore.
mm.
And I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, it was because I was like that burnt out that I just couldn't even. My brain was just it was like the brain was just like, no, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really common in ADHD is burnout. And my second business that I don't talk a lot about on here is mentoring coaches to grow their business. And burnout is a very, very heavily discussed topic, especially with the girls that resonate with ADHD or have an ADHD diagnosis. So for you with burnout, you said obviously you didn't really know it was a thing. And I think it's one of those words that just get thrown around and no people don't really know what it is or what it is in the experience. But what now on retrospect were like the symptoms? Because it's so common in ADHD with to reach that point of burnout because like your brain, your mind, your body is just like a motor, it gets fixated. And like you were saying, you were working non-stop. So I guess both from both sides, right? What were the symptoms if you look back, and also maybe what were the contributing factors that, again, now that you know better, so to speak, you would not do or don't.
Yeah, so I think looking back, some of the symptoms would be like just actually being ill, like getting colds all the time, like being run down, I think is like, and then just like losing interest
Mhm.
and like not having as many ideas and just obviously being like extremely tired, but just like just constantly pushing because I'm like, I've got to do this, I've got all these clients, blah, 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 blah. I had a membership as well at the time that I was in like weekly, doing weekly sessions and I just started not wanting to do it, even though I loved it. Like it was one of my favorite things ever. And then just that feeling of I don't really want to do this today. And like now I know that that would be like if that starts happening, I'd be like, right, I need to take a break
Yes.
rather than burn it all down,
Yes.
like go sack it all off, like just have a break and then you can come back when you're ready.
Yeah, 100%. I can relate to that one.
But I think what caused it for me was, and I know you'll understand this as well, it was trying to run it all like a neurotypical person
Yes.
and following all the rules that the neurotypical coaches tell you to do. Even something as simple as for Instagram, like back to create your content and have a content plan. I'm like sitting there and forcing creativity is going to lead to burnout because you're not in that zone. If so, I say to people now, if you're in a zone where the dopamine's high, you're really like, yeah, yeah, let's do some content. Make some extra content for when you're not feeling it.
Yes. Yes.
But don't force yourself to batch create 10 posts for the week. And then by Wednesday, I say if I do this on a Monday, by Wednesday, I'm like, I don't want to post that today. I'm a whole different person than what I was on Monday. So it doesn't feel like it just that was one of the, it's such a small thing, but that led to a lot of burnout, I think, like forcing that creativity and trying to be a neurotypical person when I'm not.
Yes. I think there's lines and boundaries with that, isn't there? Because I like can batch create to an extent, but I think too many rules on that. So if it's like I have to batch create this many posts, this kind of format, like you said, you cannot force creativity. It's a feeling, it's an energy. Something else that I notice a lot with myself, this is something I've had to really work on, and lots of the people that I support, both in like the mentoring side, but even just clients when I'm talking to them about like their work boundaries and stuff. A lot of burnout comes from people pleasing and the idea of like rejection sensitivity. So this is where boundaries can slip. And obviously there's this culture, isn't there? If you're giving to clients, you know, there's always like give the best to your clients, give the best to your business, give the best to your job, and that's how you win. And I think there's a lot of literal thinking, also that kind of like more sort of autistic literal thinking, but then also the rejection of, well, if I say no, what's going to happen? Or if I say I can't do that time, or full, or I won't go do that meeting, like what's going to happen? So do you think that's a big contributor? Because I know it has been for me in the past, for sure.
I think massively, especially with women, because we're brought up, aren't we, to be good girls that do everything everyone says, and it's huge. And I think if you are a people pleaser, when you're setting up a business and being online as well, you that's going to be amplified and you're
Yes.
gonna it's something you have to work on because you can't like and that yeah that back in those days I was a massive people pleaser because all I've ever wanted is to be liked and accepted and I
Yes.
think oh,
Yes.
who doesn't but I feel like for neurodivergent people that's amplified because
Right.
quite often we feel like we're on the outside of everyone else so I think that it was massive for me and even like again even with content it was all like I'd share like so much information that people should be paying for, really. But I'd be like, I just want to be liked. I want everyone to think I'm great. I'm just going to give them all the information.
Yeah.
And it's like you're constantly on that mode of like, please like me, please, and understand me, like that fear of being misunderstood as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Massive. So you're constantly like editing yourself, censoring yourself. Like it's exhausting. And it's the masking as well, isn't it? Like it's absolutely exhausting.
Absolutely. So you've got masking, you've got the people pleasing, you've got the not really using any sort of boundaries, trying to fit yourself into neurotypical rules from creativity. Anything else that you feel have contributed to your perks? Of everyone's burnout stories are different, but anything for you that was a
I
factor?
think the masking and the constantly trying to be liked with the people pleasing and just trying to do everything neurotypically. I think I would say that that's like the biggest contributors to it.
Mhm.
And learning so much from that with the burnout and everything. Now I'm doing things differently and my boundaries are like watertight. Like they
Yes.
ain't something for nobody. I don't care. Like you cannot like me. But you have to get to a point where you're okay with that as well.
What's helped you with that? Because I know there'll be people listening to that, like going, well, yeah, like I want to not care, and yeah, I want to put these boundaries in place, but the idea of wanting to do that and actually doing it is a completely different ball game. So what's helped you get to that point where you're like, well, no, I am
I
putting
think I
boundaries
think it's like it's a whole nervous system thing because that fear is real. Like when I used to, for example, if I was putting a post out there that shared a strong opinion, I would shake and my hands would be sweating. Like it's a real fear. So I think it's just about practicing that over time, like sharing an opinion, then sharing another one, then doing that a bit more, and then just kind of almost teaching your brain that everything's fine and no one's going to die.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's hard. Like you have to push through that fear, which is who wants to do that? Like no one wants to do that. But the more you do it, the more normal it becomes in your brain.
yeah, absolutely. Like I remember years ago when I was going through a burnout cycle and I was working with a therapist at the time. We didn't know it was ADHD. We just knew I was burnt out. And they said, right, one of the things you have to do is you're going to tell your clients that every Sunday you are taking the day off. I was
Mm.
like, yeah. And he was like, well, you're gonna have to. And I literally remember the fear of putting that message in the group chat. It was like I was telling them like murdered someone. And then I did it and I was like, yeah, Lucy, you need time off. And then it's like, oh, and it's building that evidence, isn't it? To like regulate
Yes.
the system, like everything's okay. And also, I also think a lot of reframing comes into this really well. And especially as a business owner, if it's something with clients, if the client isn't going to respect the fact that you want to sign off at 6 p.m. or you want a day off, or no, you're not willing to move a call in 10 with 10 minutes notice or whatever, that's not a person you want in your life. You want to be respected. You know, we deserve that. So reframing helps me and my clients a lot as well with like just actually thinking about the situation in a different way versus
Yes.
taking it personally or just bending over backwards for people.
Yeah. And I think you have to set those boundaries in your own mind. I remember actually writing my boundaries down. I was like, right, I'm not answering people after 6 o'clock. I'm not doing it. I remember writing it all down. And then you can make that clear as soon as you start working with somebody because it's very difficult to retrospectively set those boundaries in place. Once they're not there, it's very difficult. So, for example, a new client comes along and I'm like, right, okay, we do like coaching calls and then I'll say I'm available on WhatsApp during the time that we're working together. And I'll say you can message me after 6 o'clock, but I'm not replying. And I'll say I will reply to you within 24 hours because what happens as well, I find, is that if you're replying constantly, you're not helping them. That's not empowering to them.
It's not.
You're creating a needy relationship and then
Absolutely.
they're going to be a pain in the ass basically.
Yeah.
So if you give them time to work it out for themselves, they normally come back and go, oh, actually, I've worked that out. And I'm like, that's amazing. Like, that's great.
Yeah, and that's actually what we want for people, right? Is that autonomy.
Exactly. Yes, of course. So I think you have to set those boundaries in place straight away. And I found that when I didn't really have these strong boundaries up, people did take the piss, but you're letting them.
Yeah, yeah. It's on you.
Yeah, it's totally on you. So now that my boundaries are really strong, I've not had anyone like remotely like take the piss.
No, not at all.
Then you don't even have to do that thing of like people pleasing and having that fear because and I don't mean to sound like a woo-woo, but it is an energetic thing as well. I do think people can feel that your boundaries are there.
And I have found quite interestingly, and this is where it's like you've got to do it to experience it, is that I thought, oh, people are going to not like me as much, or people are this, but actually it kind of creates a whole new level of respect because it's like she's someone that holds herself high. She's someone who is confident. And when you are being a coach in whatever capacity that is, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whatever it is, you need those people working with you to look at you as a confident leader, right? If there's any sense of like doubt or that's not empowering for them. Like if you want to change lives or change mindsets or grow someone's 50K followers or lose 10 pounds, like it doesn't matter what it is, people have to look at you and think they are confident, they are strong, they are powerful. And that isn't just in the content and the work you're doing one to one, that's in boundaries and in those sorts of things as well.
100%. And I think it helps the person that's working with you as well because they see you do it. It's like a ripple effect, and then they're like, "Oh, I can do
Yeah.
that."
Yeah, because that was another thing that I was like, actually, why I need to do it is I was also like, we need to, you're coming home from work, you're doing this, put your boundaries in place. And then I'm responding to them on the day that I'm off. They're not going to do it then, are they? Because
That
you're not
doesn't, that
saying
doesn't
something.
work. No, that's what I call like when your energetic odor that makes it smelly.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like you've got this odor, and it little things like that can make it smelly. Like if you're answering outside of times or like that's now, and then that doesn't help or you.
Yeah, 100%. So moving kind of like as a nice transition here, because we're kind of like touching on bits of the work that you do now, which is one of the main sort of conversations I had. I mean, your story with like the business and the ADHD and the burnt, it's so relatable to people, whether they've got a business or not. I can imagine it's just pushing through, pushing through, pushing through, and then realizing I can't. So what kind of like changed for you in the respect of like obviously when you went through that the most recent cycle of burnout, was it kind of just like a right enough's enough? Did you get some support? What did you do to kind of like transition to where you're at now, which is someone who is understanding of her boundaries, understanding of her needs, and obviously running a very successful, thriving business?
So I was in a fortunate position where I could take a break and I didn't have to do anything for a while. Um, I think not enough people really say that as well. Like people with like businesses and stuff, not enough people say that they've actually got a lot of like support in place. Like I've got a husband that's got a really good job.
Yeah.
That means I don't actually have to do any of this. That is something that I want to do. So I'm very fortunate in that. But I did get to a point, so I ended up taking like a year out, so I wasn't working at all. It did get to a point where I was a bit like, I think I'm going to have to get a job now. So I was actually looking for like local jobs, like that would fit around the school runs and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so I think just having that massive break and having that time to reflect and just being really honest with myself and being like, well, what do I actually want to do and what's happened here? And looking back on it all and it's not comfortable to look back and be like, oh, okay, that's where I messed up there and that's where this happened and blah blah blah. So it was a lot of like self-reflection and self-awareness and just being really honest about where I was and what I wanted. And then I just set this page up that I've got now. It wasn't even meant to be a business. Like I said, I was going to go and get a job. I set the page up and I thought I'm just going to talk about like feeling lost and all the things. And then yeah, it turned out that people did want to hear about it. And then I was like, oh. And then people started saying to me, oh, you've grown this page again. Like you've grown another page. Can you help me? And then I was like, yeah, let's work together for 6 weeks. And then yeah, so now it's another business. But
So
I feel like that's so ADHD as well. Like I didn't even mean to, and now it is.
it is, but it's also like the power of ADHD that I think isn't talked about because there's so much. I'm really passionate about talking about empowerment with neurodivergence because there's a lot of great content creators out there, but so many of them talk about the limitations a lot. And I get its validation. I think we need that, but it's very, well, you are scatty, you are forgetful, you are this, you are that. That's just who you are. I'm like, well, it means that we're more predisposed to that, but also look at all the incredible things that you can do. Like most of the most successful entrepreneurs have ADHD. And this art to be able to kind of see something and just go, cool, let's do something like productive with this is a gift. I really do think it is.
100%.
And it can change not just your life, it can impact tens, hundreds, thousands of other people, which is absolutely, amazing. So what for you then? Like what have you kind of I mean, I'm just interested in the business journey, I'm sure other people are. So from this, I'll help you for 6 weeks with like, growing your page. What have you now done with this between sort of then and now to shape the work that you do now in terms of like how you deliver things? Is it one-on-one? Is it community? Where do these ideas come from?
So in the past, I'd like with hypnobirthing, it was always one to one, and then I started doing group hypnobirthing classes online, and that was amazing, and I loved it. And then I was doing one to one with the hypnobirthing teachers to teach them how to use Instagram. That was all one to one. I didn't really do any groups. I did one group back then. So then obviously after the burnout and everything, I was like, what do I actually want to do? And I was like, I want to work with one-to-one people, but not too many. So it's like not too many because I had a wait list, I had loads of clients, it was just too much. I was like, right, I'm going to be very protective of that now and just have like a few clients on the go at a time. And then I was like, and then I could do a group thing because what I want to help people with the most is unmasking online, to being yourself online, because I think that is like the most, like being authentic is so magnetic, and
Yeah.
especially, and this is like, I feel like this is like an ADHD like pattern spotting thing. I think even more so now than
Yeah.
ever before because so many people can use ChatGPT, which is great, but so many people can do that. It's so easy now just to like be like, oh, here's some tips and here's that and that. And I think being a real person online is going to stand out so much more than ever. So I want to help people like just really be themselves online. So I was like, if we did that in a group, then we can all support each other. You can have those people cheering you on when you're posting the scary thing or when you're doing a scary video or whatever. You've got that group of women behind you going, "Yeah, come on, you can do it," and then liking the post and engaging. So I thought that might be quite nice to do it like as a group together. So I'm doing that in February. So we'll see how that goes. If I feel like it doesn't drain me too much, then I'll probably keep doing those. But it's all about now. It's all about like I have to put myself first now
Yeah.
because if I burn out again, there's no business.
Yeah.
So you have to, but it's hard. It is like what you're saying. It's hard with like the people pleasing. You want to like someone comes to me and is like, "Oh, can you coach me?" And I'm like, "Well, you're gonna have to wait until March." And it's like, "Oh, are they still gonna want to work with me? Are they gonna want to wait until March?" It's all that kind of stuff. But you have to protect your energy.
Yeah. And I think that what you said there about the thing of like actually realizing that if you don't protect the energy, there will be no business. It's kind of that weighing up that magnitude of effect of like, well, what's worse? Letting one person down possibly or letting potentially thousands of people down over the
Yeah,
years because I've had to shut this down. And I think that's a really good reframe for people who maybe are, oh, do I take on that extra person? Oh, do I do that call at that time? And it's always like I like to think of it like a Jenga tower. If you play Jenga where the one little decision is one brick, but you just need to keep layering the bricks, and then it is just that one extra client, stretching your calls to later at night, working that extra day or half day that on the surface feels like nothing, but it kind
yeah,
of like crumbles the tower, doesn't it? When the towers crumble, that's when you then have to rebuild.
that's it. And that's the whole process again, isn't it?
It is 100%. So I'd be interested to hear a bit more. I'm sure the listeners are about like what it is you actually do to make people more authentic. Because authenticity is a bit of a buzzword, isn't it? With like social media and content creation. Be authentic, and people are like, yeah, I know I need to, but how the hell do I do
So
that?
I feel like when I work with somebody, I can spot things,
Yes,
and I can't really explain it. I have no like framework for that or like
it
any.
is extends or
I
something.
just spot stuff in people and I go, that's what you're hiding and that's what needs to come out. So, for example, one of my clients I was working with, she is a hypnobirthing teacher, but behind the scenes, she's very spiritual. And she used to be a scientist. So there's a real like what's it word, like dichotomy there. So she would always present herself very scientifically online, but behind the scenes, she's as woo-woo as they come. She's like an energetic healer. She's into Reiki. She's amazing. And I was like, that's what needs to come out. So I've worked with her for like a year of just unmasking all of the like everything and her just really letting that spiritual side of herself out. Because ultimately she's gonna wanna the best clients she could work with are going to be the spiritual ones because that's what she loves. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you have to show that to attract them. So I've just been helping her do that, but she was scared to do that because it is scary to, especially like spiritual stuff, because you think, oh, people are going to think I'm mad or like. But I
Mm.
was like, but you're going to attract the people that you really want,
Yeah.
and then your business is going to feel like the best it's felt.
Yeah. Amazing.
So it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Like it's getting out of people what the things that they probably think. And with ADHD, I always say the thing that you've been told your whole life to tone down, that is magic. That's the thing that you probably need to bring out more.
Yeah. And that was kind of what I was going to ask. I think it is almost an element of the masking and just kind of being used to that of like just go with the crowd, fit in, don't stand out, because that's what's felt safe and comfortable for years. And actually, the best thing that you could do is to kind of go against that. And it
Yeah.
feels like, oh, and
But
I
it's
think
hard. It's scary.
I think it's subconscious. I don't think people realize until like you have a conversation like this, you tell them that's what you're doing. And it's like, okay, no, I can't get that, but
Yeah.
I'll do that. And like, so you said you've spotted it. What kind of strategies then do you give? Is it like tasks, just go and post that thing? Is there any sort of like journaling exercises? Like, how do you help people step into that, like as you say, like to shine, to really be themselves and step out of that?
Yeah. So we do lots of journaling because I think there's something magical that happens. And I mean, it's not for everybody, but there's something magical that happens when you put a pen to paper and just ask yourself something honestly. It's like I describe it as sometimes I'm like, am I like it's like channeling or something. Like there's like a higher thing that just like I'm like, I didn't even know I thought this. Like and it just comes out. Like so much stuff will come out with that. We do a lot of that. And I also do like tarot with people as well, because when we pull cards, it can make people think about things that maybe they hadn't thought of before, or like it's like a really good opener for things. We do that. And then I just ask people directly, I'm like, what do you really want to say? And
Yeah.
then they tell me, and then I'm like, well, say it, do it. But obviously, it's scary to do that on your own because, like I was saying earlier, it's like a whole nervous system thing where your brain is like, no, we don't do that. We don't talk about that because that's not how we fit in. So it's like a whole process of just like guiding them gently and supporting them as they do it.
Mhm. Absolutely. And just to like build people's confidence, like what results have you seen both personally with clients, with people who've made that change from go with the flow, fit in, just kind of do what feels safe, maybe use ChatGPT, to then really knowing their own voice, stepping into their own power, knowing what makes them so unique and like leveraging that. Like what differences have you seen and noticed?
I just see people just being so much happier. The creativity flows more. They just feel more powerful. Like it's huge, and it's like especially women, like we're not encouraged to do that.
No.
If anything, we're encouraged to compare ourselves to other women and stay quiet and don't make yourself like don't make noise and like it's and attention and like if you're putting yourself out there online, it's like seen as like attention seeking and that's seen as a bad thing and it runs deep, doesn't it? Like it's so we're just not encouraged to do that basically. And I think it's like a little act of rebellion, like to actually be like, well, actually, no, I do want to put myself out there and make some noise and be controversial and share my opinions and you know, and actually be me rather than trying to be like a smaller version of me just to be accepted.
Hmm. So what you're saying there is it's not just like business success, it's actually like personal content as well to actually just feel like almost like you're letting go a little bit and releasing yourself. So it's like a double-edged win of yes, authenticity attracts. So business success, whether that's Instagram growth, inquiries, etc. But actually, then this is obviously cross-transferable to anyone, business or not. It just allows you to just feel lighter and just yes,
But it's like it's very freeing
yes,
to not have to. And you know, like when you're creating your content or whatever, I used to sit there. I'm not even exaggerating for like 6 hours making one post,
yeah.
like editing the shit out of it, like constantly. Like, oh no, don't say that. Do it like this, softening it, and like being like apologizing almost just for existing. And like now I just go, oh, that's a good idea. Bang, 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 post it.
Yeah. And it
And
is
that
really
is so freeing, like not have that like thing of like I've got to edit myself constantly.
absolutely. And I say this to like the clients I mentor quite a bit. I say like I genuinely don't care. Like I'm aware that this what I say might get some I don't care. Because you've kind of got to get to that point of just realizing that the right people in your world, whatever your business or idea is, or it's not even just business, is it? It's just friendships. The right people are the ones that will listen to what you've got to say and either agree with it, vibe with it, respect your opinion. The people that are going to tear you down, completely disagree, they are not aligned to you anyway. So you don't want them in your business and your client base. You don't
No,
want your friendship circle. Like if you can be, you don't have to be disrespectful and rude, but truly yourself and say what you need to say. The right people will be in your life. And those quotes, isn't there, about the people and your circle and all that stuff. But if you've got clients that vibe with you, if you've got friends that vibe with you, or colleagues on people in like networks or whatever, it just uplifts everything in your life.
it does, and like, everything is easier. Like it's very difficult at first because it's very scary to like put yourself out there and be like who you are. Because then if you get criticized, it's for your real self rather than like the kind of perform version of you. So
Yes.
that's very difficult. But once you get to that point and you do it, everything's easier. Like I said, like I can do a post in 5 minutes now because I'm not looking at it, and I realized as well, like perfectionism is just a way of avoiding criticism. That's
Yes.
all you're trying to do. And it's like you can't always avoid that. You no matter what you do, somebody's not going to like it, or somebody's going to be annoyed or triggered or whatever. You can't live your life like trying to control everyone's perception of you.
It's like what you were saying right at the start of this podcast about control what you can control. I don't know if you've ever seen that diagram of the circles of control. I use
Yeah,
it with clients all the time, like when
yeah.
I'm talking about right circles of control time, because you can't, like, you can obviously influence what someone might say based on what you put out there, but you cannot dictate someone's experience, what they want to say, what they want to think. Like you can breathe and it can piss them off. I was honest, if I'm really moody and tired and someone breathes next to me heavy, I'm
Yeah,
annoyed. I mean, like
yeah,
it's literally that level of you can't control it. But I always then think about if I don't, so I always like to look at like when you don't do one thing happens. When one thing happens, you don't do another thing. So if you don't say that thing because you're worried about what Dave on Facebook might say, there's someone on the other side who desperately needed to see that today to reach out for coaching and change their life, or just have a mindset shift that they're not broken, or realize there's another way of thinking about this problem. And I always think about them. I'm like, they need to see that, they need to hear that. So fuck Dave.
yeah. It's so true. But you're not doing it for that one person that might say something slightly negative. Yeah, there could be 10 people. For every one person, there's like 10 people that are like, oh my God, I love this. I needed this today.
Yeah, it's that negativity bias, isn't it? We're drawn to see the negatives, but you've got to just ignore it. I just see it as like, mate, you just give them a post engagement.
But
Fantastic.
no, I'm like, thanks, babe.
Thank you so much. That's giving it more of a boost. You legend. Much
But I think the more that happens, so you do get more resilient to it. Like I remember, like this is how bad my RSD was. I remember somebody saying they didn't like my font, and I actually got really upset about it. Like actually upset. I was like, I spent 7 hours on that post. Now she doesn't like my font. Whereas now I'd be like, fuck off, Sandra. Like, don't worry about my font. Why are you worried about my font? But over time, and like the more I posted, and the more like people said negative things or whatever, it it doesn't bother me. Like nothing really bothers me now. But back then, somebody said my font was not nice. Like literally made me want to cry.
I think my favorite criticism that I got, and I was kind of going through that transition of not caring. I did a video about like lateral raises for your shoulders, about like why your shoulders aren't growing if you do this exercise. And this woman commented saying like, do you think you are? Your arms look like spaghetti or something. And her profile, she was clearly on like steroids. You know those women on steroids that just look like full on men.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's a really interesting comment from someone who's clearly it's fantastic, but you've got to laugh about it, and it's just a good bit of banter. So, in terms of like the future, and obviously the beautiful thing with an ADHD business is, I like to sort of have a vision plan, but I also just like to kind of think, who knows?
You know,
Anything can happen with how my business has gone. But at the moment, what's kind of like the vision for what you're doing here? Is this about helping people on a small scale? Is this getting the message bigger? Is this for your just personal fulfillment? What's kind of the mission with what you're doing with the business at the moment?
it's funny because in the past I've always been very everything's planned and well, I've always tried to plan everything and be super strategic. And it just makes me want to cry. Even the word, I'm like, oh, I feel trapped. I don't like it. So when I set this page up, it was literally just let's just set this page up and see what happens. So I only set it up a few months ago, so I'm still very much in there. Let's kind of vibe a bit and see what happens. But I think the thing that with everything that I've done, even with the hypnobirthing, it was all about helping women to use their voices and be seen and heard. That's what I want. And I want to help business owners that have got important messages to say to be seen and to be heard. And I think the reason where this comes from was from when I was very poorly for 8 years. I felt like I was a burden. I isolated myself. I didn't know, like before that, I'd had admin jobs, but I'd never really done anything, never really achieved anything. And I had no idea that I could achieve all of this. So I'm like, there must be so many women out there that have no idea of all the things they can achieve, especially ADHD women who are constantly told, if you just did this, you'd reach your potential. If you just did this. And it's like, ADHD is something that is magical. And I know there's obviously lots of downsides to it, but it is a flex. Like you can absolutely use it. And I just being successful, it makes me so happy, and that's what I want to do. Like I don't know how that will be or what format that will be in, but that is my main mission, is to help women be seen and heard and make noise and be yourself.
You'll figure it out. It's the ADHD brain. We'll figure it out.
Figure it out. I don't know how yet, but we'll get there somehow.
I think too much planning though kills it, because I've always had my best ideas like when I've not been planning them. They kind of
Mm.
just come to me, and then you roll with it, and then you can experiment with it. And again, just keeping it fun rather than too serious, and just keeping the fun alive for business, right?
And what's your kind of vision for like the next 5 years?
World domination. No, it's not a world domination quite, but when I made the change to shift my niche, because before I was coaching and supporting specifically neurodivergent women, it was general sort of weight loss and fitness, and it's still something I'm very passionate about in food relationships. But having all these kind of like epiphanies of like why I've struggled with food and my body and confidence for so long, and then seeing women in the same boat, but it's really sad, people, I've got women in their like 50s, 60s that have just felt broken when it comes to food in their body, and it's not all ADHD, but ADHD is like the catalyst and not being able to figure that out. And I just want to be able to, again, I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know what the pathway is, but just to be able to get the knowledge of how to support yourself from a health and fitness perspective. One, because if you look after your body and you eat well, it helps with ADHD. But more specifically, it's the food relationship, it's the body image, it's the yo-yo dieting, the eating disorders, like all of that, which is it ruins people's lives. It takes over lives. I want to get as many people out of that. So how I do it, don't really know. But I just know there's going to be big stages and probably books and probably at some point yapping in Parliament somewhere, someone, because for me, it's very mission orientated because of my past with disordered eating, nearly losing a very close family member to an eating disorder who she's not diagnosed ADHD, but she's textbook ADHD. It matters to me more than just slimming world, let's lose a stone. It's the bigger picture, because you'll know yourself, when you feel confident and healthy and thriving, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I think everyone deserves access to that and the right support.
I love that. And I can totally see you speaking at like massive events. I can see it.
That's the vision. That's the vision. And also, again, this is quite a selfish thing, but when I was growing up, again, undiagnosed ADHD, I thought I was just an anxious kid, which is quite common, isn't it? That comorbidity with ADHD and anxiety. And I actually went to performing arts school, wasn't very good. I was kind of like she's all right, she's not terrible. But my brothers were really good. Like they did like West End and TV commercials and stuff. And I always felt kind of like you'll never be good enough. It was something I've worked through therapy. And from a purely selfish perspective, I want to get on I want to do something really cool, whether it's a TV program, a big stage, just to tell that little girl, actually, you are more than good enough.
I love that for your inner child.
Yeah, and inspire other women and girls who've held that like narrative, because it's just a limiting belief. It's a belief, it's a story. And when you can let go of that story, I genuinely do think the sky's the limit of what you can do with your life. You've got to get rid of that. You've got to get rid of that.
Oh my God. I can totally see you speaking at a big event. Like, I can see it.
So my little vision board over there for this year. Manifest that shit. No, make it happen. I like
Make it happen, yes.
like make it happen. So coming back to yourself, I've just gone off on like a deep yap about myself and my visions. If anyone's listening to this, which I know they will be, feeling interested in the work that you do, because I think your content as well, I know we've spoken a lot about in the context of solo business owners, but I think a lot of the work that you do about being authentic and letting go and releasing is so powerful and transferable, even if you aren't an entrepreneur or business owner, just to step into your power. So where can people find you on social media? Like I'll link them in the show notes and stuff, but just for people's knowledge.
So my Instagram page is Lost Bitches Club.
Adore that. Best name ever.
And I'm on Threads as well, but I'm mostly on Instagram is where you'll find me. I do have a TikTok, but again, I don't really post on there at the moment. It's something I want to work on in the future, but on Instagram is where you can find me at the moment at Lost Bitches Club.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. That's been such a wonderful yap about all things business, ADHD, creativity. So yeah, guys, please go drop her a follow, share the page, some support. By the time you this podcast out, we've got 100k followers with how fast the page is growing. Please go drop her a follow. Let her know you've listened to this. And obviously, if you have listened and it's something that you maybe do want support with, just drop her a message. I'm sure she's more than happy to chat and see how she can help.
I'll have a voice note as well. Feel free.
Absolutely. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day, Faye, and to everyone else,
Thank you.
day, and I will see you on the next episode, everyone.